Hey friend, please subscribe. 1 second for you. Big deal for me.
The bleach smell sat heavy in my nose. It always did after a North Hills run. I just logged the final photo into the insurance file at 9:20 p.m., standing in the backlight of the van, gloves still on. Another post-decomp cleanup done. Another sight someone's family would rather forget. Quick note before we jump in. Drop a comment with the city or country you're listening from. It helps us see where everyone's tuning in and plan the best time for news stories. Thanks for watching Channel Revenge by Frank. All right, let's get started. My name's Brandon Hayes. I'm 36. I live in the Valley, just off Nordhoff, in a 2-bedroom rental that's starting to feel smaller than it is. I work post-crime and trauma cleanup, smoke, water, death, you name it. I partner with Corey Dalton, who owns Dalton Restoration. We clean what nobody else wants to deal with. I like checklists. Masks sealed right. Back to the wall. Always. Home that night was quiet when I got there. Too quiet. Megan was already in the bedroom, headset on, staring into a laptop screen like she was landing a plane. Said she was still on a call. She says that a lot now. Megan's 33, HR for Harborstone Insurance. We've been together 5 years, married for 3. Lately, she says I always smell like a hotel pool. I tell her that's better than smelling like what I just cleaned. But the distance wasn't just smell. It was silence. New haircuts, unexplained meetings, that fresh floral perfume that never lived in our house before, and the name that started showing up in her casual talk. Travis Holt, lead underwriter at Harborstone. The kind of guy who says synergy and means it. She mentioned him the way people mention weather, like it's nothing, even when it's clearly something. My gut did that low warning growl. You know the one. Same one I get when a cleanup site doesn't match the police report. We used to meet in the kitchen after midnight, share leftovers, decompress. Now it's noise-canceling headphones and doors half shut. Our arguments sound like compliance reports, cold, clipped, and indirect. Then Corey called. Harborstone's doing their spring mixer next Friday. Culver City. Wear a suit. Be ready to work the room. He was all business, but I knew what that meant. Harborstone was reviewing vendors. We were on the bubble. That vendor panel meant reliable cleanup contracts, water damage, smoke, mold. Not blood jobs at 2 a.m., not liability landmines. I needed us back in. Reputation matters in this line of work, especially when you deal with trauma on a clock. Later that night, Megan walked in like she lived at a hotel. Fresh blowout, light perfume. Same one I'd smelled earlier that week. She placed her tote down gentle, like it was full of glass. I looked up from the table. Mixer's next Friday, right? Culver City? She blinked a second too long. Yeah, I'm corralling managers all night. Then I saw it. A little banner lit up on her phone. T. Holt. She flipped it over fast, face down, like a coin she didn't want to play. I didn't say a word. Just nodded. Logged the time. Logged the name. That night, I lay with my back to the wall, watching the ceiling fans circle the same warm air we'd been breathing for months. My side of the bed might as well have been another room. That's when a plan started forming in my head. Same way I build out a cleanup checklist. Step by step. Risk assessment. Site access. Visibility lines. No damage. No threats. Just control. Corey had mentioned an old client's vacant guest house up in the Malibu Hills, off Latigo Canyon. Spare key in a lockbox. No tenants. No cameras inside. I'd been there once. Clean layout. Nothing fancy. Quiet enough to hear the refrigerator cycle. I wasn't looking to hurt anyone. Wasn't going to break anything or scream. I just needed Megan to see something that made her stop and think. A wake-up. That's all. Careful. Clean. And just real enough to rattle the both of them. I held her smile with mine just long enough for the photo flash, then peeled off toward the side table like I needed a napkin. I didn't. I needed to breathe without the smell of her new perfume mixing with everything I hadn't said yet. Corey drifted over, nodding toward the grazing spread. Travis and Megan, huh? His voice stayed flat, but his eyebrow ticked once. I didn't answer. He handed me a lemon wedge from his club soda like it was a lighter for a fuse. I didn't say anything. Didn't need to. My body cam was clipped inside the jacket, angled just low enough to look harmless. It wouldn't catch faces direct, but the glass behind them would. Reflections don't lie. Neither do timestamps. Megan was halfway across the floor, laughing with her mouth covered like a teenager on speakerphone. Travis stood angled toward her, not quite touching, but too close for casual. Every now and then he adjusted his cuff or tie, little movements guys make when they want to be looked at. I watched how her shoulder tilted toward his when he spoke. I watched how they leaned in and back like they were synced. One breath, two bodies. Corey caught me staring and whispered, "You got this?" I nodded. He moved toward a compliance group with his business smile on, one hand in his pocket, the other holding our new trifolds. He knew how to work a room. I knew how to document one. Priya, one of the Harborstone compliance managers, passed near the bar and gave me a quick chin nod. Pressure's up. New exec wants cleaner vendor files. Somebody flagged a few duplicate service codes. Big review coming. She didn't say more, but she didn't have to. I knew how these things moved. Slow at first, then fast all at once. Travis was talking now to someone from claims, gesturing with his drink like a guy leading a TED Talk on how much smarter he is than everyone else. You get too many vendors on contract, you start bleeding margin. Dead weight needs to go. Megan laughed on cue, her hand brushing his arm for just a beat too long to be an accident. I didn't blink. I just tracked the moment. My fingers flexed in my pocket like they were tightening gloves. Not anger. Focus. Megan shifted closer to a regional manager I recognized from a water loss project last fall. She was just mentioning how fast certain vendors respond, which ones make documentation easier, who's got flexible coverage after hours. She didn't say our name, but she didn't need to. People like her get more done through omission than action. I moved past them with a nod, just close enough to catch the phrase, "room for improvement," and the word Dalton, buried in a sentence that died in a sip of rosé. Outside, I leaned against the valet booth like it was holding me up. Needed air. My brain was cataloging the night faster than I could process it. Inside, people were still laughing like money didn't matter. My pulse stayed even. I've done worse in worse places. But this was personal in a way blood never is. Then I heard it. Latigo Saturday? If she's on nights, no problem. The voice was Travis. He stepped just far enough from the double glass doors to take a call, phone pinned tight to his ear like it held secrets. I stayed still, eyes on a palm tree shadow dancing across the concrete. He didn't see me. Or maybe he did, and didn't care. Either way, the message landed. Latigo. Saturday. Her schedule. My van's mileage log was about to get one more entry. I stepped back inside, jaw tight, posture loose. Got a blend. The mixer had shifted gears into photo op mode. That's when Megan found me again. Light touch on my arm. That practiced HR smile locked on like a badge. She pressed her cheek to mine again. Phone's out. Someone snapping pics. I could feel the tension in her jaw even through the smile. "You'll be on nights this weekend, right?" she asked, voice casual, eyes locked on mine like she was asking the real question behind the question. I nodded once, slow and steady. "Yeah. Nights." She smiled again, but this time it didn't reach her eyes. We both knew she wasn't asking for my schedule. She was checking if she had cover. I moved away before she could say anything else. Corey caught my eye near the exit, gave a small nod. "We're clear," he mouthed. On the walk back to the van, I texted myself one thing. Latigo. Prep checklist. I dropped the sheet into place, pressed the pillow seam flat with one hand, and streaked the stage blood across it in one fast pull. The mannequin underneath stayed perfectly still, cold plastic, no life, just enough shape to fool tired eyes in low light. 30 seconds. That's how close I cut it. 30 seconds between a setup and a disaster. Outside, the headlights cut off, engine still running. She hadn't turned the car off yet. I could picture her hands on the wheel, checking her phone, scanning the house, deciding whether to knock or walk in. I clicked the smart plug once. The bedroom lamp went dark. I ducked into the hallway nook, pulled my mask down to my neck, and waited with my back tight against the wall. The front door opened like she'd done it 100 times. No pause, just the gentle sound of heels on hardwood, steady like she was walking into her own house. Then came the whisper. "Trav," she said, soft and careful, like she was checking not if someone was there, but which someone. I didn't move, just listened. The wood creaked as she stepped past the hall, right into the bedroom. Her breath caught as she hit the blackout. I pictured her eyes adjusting, her fingers brushing the wall, searching for the switch that wouldn't work. She didn't call out again. Instead, she walked toward the bed. I knew by the pacing of her steps. I'd laid that floor cover tight. It didn't crinkle under her. The jacket came off first, soft thud on the corner chair. Then the mattress dipped once as she sat, testing. Another shift. Her hand slid under the sheet, checking for warmth maybe, or just to reach him like she had before. Her voice cracked the silence again. "Babe," she said. No answer. Then the buzzer chirped, just one clean electronic peep from under the bed. I'd hit the remote once with my left thumb. That was all it took. She froze. I could hear the breath lock in her throat, the quiet panic. Then came the phone light, beam slicing across the sheet, hitting the pillow, finding the red smear. I heard her inhale like she'd stepped into cold surf. Oh no. Tires crushed gravel outside. Again. Earlier than I expected. Idiots, both of them. No coordination, no caution. This wasn't a game to them. It was routine. That's what made it worse. I stepped to the peephole just as the second set of headlights stabbed through the drive. White beam, high, sharp. The car didn't idle. It roared forward like the driver knew he had ground to cover. Door opened fast. Footsteps. A slammed car door. Then his voice broke through the hall. "Megan?" Low and angry. Not scared. Not confused. Like he already knew she was here and was mad she beat him to the script. He hit the bedroom doorway fast. I heard his foot catch the frame, stop him short. She was still inside, phone light bouncing like her hand couldn't hold it still. I hit the buzzer again. Another clean chirp. Then the lamp came on. Soft flicker from the smart plug, triggered off my burner app. The glow hit the bed like a slow reveal. He didn't speak at first, just breathed hard, one step back from the doorway. She turned toward him, confused and pale, her voice barely coming out. "What is this?" But it wasn't a real question. It was a deflection, stalling. I'd heard that voice before, on cleanup jobs where someone's panic hit too late. He didn't answer, just looked. No yelling, just trying to work out if the sheet was hiding something real, trying to measure if this was a crime scene or a threat. His eyes locked on the blood smear, then on her face, then back again. She broke first. "Call 911, she said, but didn't move to do it. Instead, she looked at him like she expected him to solve it, to take over. But he didn't. He backed out a step, fast, like maybe the mannequin would reach up and grab him. "Wait," she said, grabbing his wrist, yanking him close. "We have to go." That's what did it. Not calling the cops, not checking the body, just grabbing her purse and dragging him by the arm like none of this happened. I slipped out the side door, pulled my hoodie over my head, and headed down the slope toward the HOA gate. Gabe was standing outside the booth, coffee in one hand, eyes on the night sky like nothing ever happened. He spotted me right away. "Dalton Van?" he asked. "Busy night?" "Dehu check," I said, handing him my ID again. "Owner called it in, but heads up, visitor didn't log on entry." He nodded once, already scrolling his tablet. "Silver Audi came in late. No entry on record. I'll flag it. He printed a slip right there, slapped an orange sticker on a sheet, and wrote up the tag, tow requested. Time stamped, logged, exactly what I needed. A few minutes later, I walked back uphill. Quiet now, but their voices still bounced between the hallway and the front door, low, urgent, almost panicked. I tapped the plug again, lamp off, 10 seconds, lamp on. It only took one more click to set them off. She snapped at him to check the room. He refused. Then came shoes, the sound of a bag zipper, door slam. Gravel spit out under tires, Audi carving back down Latigo like it was trying to lose something. I waited 2 full minutes, just in case, then walked through the bedroom like a job site. UV light in one hand, camera in the other. Not a speck out of place. No trace of anything real. The only thing I left behind was what I wanted logged. I zipped the mannequin into the body bag we use for fire scenes. It was silent and cold, like packing away a lie. The sheets went in a contractor bag, blood smear and all. I knelt on the floor, passing the UV light over every seam of wood, every tile edge, every single thing I'd touched. Nothing lit up but the fake, and that was the point. The hidden phone was last. I climbed the step stool, reached for the top of the wardrobe, and killed the recording. Battery at 82%. Audio clean. Video clean. It caught everything from the edge of the bed to the doorway, just how I planned it. I pulled the card, slid it into a labeled envelope, Latigo double arrival, raw, and put it in my jacket. Then I pulled the painter's paper, rolled it slow, checked for scuff marks or blood drips that didn't belong. Nothing. By the time I stepped out, the air had dropped 10 degrees. The wind off the canyon came hard through the trees. Coyotes were barking again, louder this time. Sounded like a warning. I packed the van methodical, prop bag first, mannequin strapped down, everything in the same order I loaded it. Order keeps you from losing your mind when the stakes spike. The house behind me sat quiet. No lights, no motion, just what I wanted. I started the van, lights off until the gravel turned to pavement. My watch read 12:01 a.m. I hit the brakes at the stop sign above the gate and waited, watching the quiet night flatten itself out. At the gatehouse, Gabe was back in the booth. He looked up from his tablet and gave a nod like we were just 2 guys working a shift. "Print me the full log?" I asked through the window. "Gotta include the late silver Audi." He tapped, dragged, printed. Visitor not listed. Entered at 10:34 p.m. Exited at 11:46. No guest code. Marked unauthorized. He passed me the printout. I glanced at the plate, same one I saw on Travis's car the night he slipped out of the mixer to make that call. "Tag it and keep it quiet," I said. "HOA protocol." "I got you," Gabe said, already punching in the next line. "Stickers on it. Photo taken. Audi's done." I nodded once and drove out. No radio, no noise. The van still smelled faintly like bleach and old plastic. Familiar, steady, comforting in a sick way. Mulholland felt empty that time of night. Just canyon curves and darkness, and the rumble of my tires against cracked asphalt. I took my time, eyes bouncing between mirrors, replaying what I saw back there like a sight walkthrough. The buzzers, the lamp flick, Megan's voice right before it broke. Travis frozen in the doorway, swearing like he'd stepped on a landmine. And the way they looked at each other, not with love, not even with guilt, just fear. Fear of the wrong eyes seeing something they couldn't explain. They didn't know who set it up. They didn't know what got recorded. They didn't know if they'd walked into a trap, a crime scene, or both. Good. By the time I got home, it was 12:36. Megan wasn't back. Surprise. I walked through the front door like it was just another Tuesday night. Shoes off, lights low. I showered slow, let the steam work out the tension in my shoulders. Then I stood there with my hands on the tile, waiting for the hot water to run out. The smell of bleach was still on my forearms. I didn't mind. Back in the garage, I tucked the SD card into the cash box I keep under my tool bench, beneath the torque wrench set, right beside the old fire gloves from my EMT days. Labeled, dated, locked. No cloud, no backup. No one else had it but me. Then I went inside, shut off the lights, and lay on the couch. TV off. House quiet. Just the distant whir of the fridge and the hum of the ceiling fan working overtime. My pulse was steady. That was the weird part. I didn't feel wired, didn't feel righteous. I felt calibrated. This wasn't revenge. Not yet. It was prep. The camera didn't scream. The light didn't blind. The buzzers didn't blast. They just whispered in the dark. The kind of whisper that turns into static if you ignore it. And they heard it. Now I waited to see what they did with it. By the time I climbed into the van, the inside smelled like plastic, sweat, and that hint of ozone you get from fresh gloves. The clock read 12:03 a.m. I sat there in the dark, engine off, laptop balanced on my knees. No music, no podcast, just the soft hum of the cooling fan and the click of screenshots dropping into the folder I named Harborstone Policy Review. I double-checked every file. First, the smart plug logs, clean timestamps from the app's local cache, showing exact toggles with no user label. The same 4 toggles as logged earlier, off at 10:29, on at 10:31, off at 11:14, final kill at 11:47. Next, the HOA visitor log Gabe exported. Travis's silver Audi, no guest code, unregistered entry at 10:34 p.m. Stickered on exit. Plate photo, time-stamped. Then the Find My screen from my burner iPad, last ping inside that Malibu guest room at 10:56 p.m. Location accurate to within 10 feet. Good enough for any audit. I opened a new Proton Mail account with a name that didn't trace. Something generic, forgettable. Nothing angry. No burner theatrics. Subject line, after hours visit and potential conflict of interest. For your review. Attachments loaded, file names labeled clean. I wrote exactly 1 sentence in the body. Please evaluate this for policy, COI. I'm not making accusations. That was it. No threats, no narrative. Just evidence in the format Harborstone would recognize, time-stamped logs and clean metadata. No file labeled proof, no smoking gun, just a structured push into the hands of the people paid to care. I hovered over send, waited, watched the time tick to 12:07, hit it, message gone. Then I closed the laptop and sat still for a full minute, not moving, just breathing through my teeth. No high, no adrenaline spike, just a calm that didn't feel earned. I drove back toward the valley, taking surface streets mostly. I didn't want the freeway, not because of cops, just because I needed the rhythm of stoplights to settle my head. At 12:41, Corey called. You good? I'm good. Pause. He let it hang. You send it? Sent 1 package. Nothing else. No details. He swore once, low, tired. Smart. We didn't see it. We didn't do it. Exactly. He hung up. No lecture, just a quiet acknowledgement. We both knew where the line was. I hadn't crossed it. Not yet. I laid down on the couch instead of the bed. I didn't even turn the TV on, just lay flat with my back to the wall and the ceiling fan clicking through the stale air. The house smelled like bleach and eucalyptus. It always did after a big job. Only this time, the cleanup wasn't physical. It was procedural, and the blood wasn't real. But the stakes were. My body didn't shake, but my hands still felt tight, like they were waiting for something to drop. I stared up at the ceiling and didn't blink for a long while. Eventually I closed my eyes, and when I did, I didn't dream. That wasn't rest. That was just power down. When I woke, the house was still quiet. The sun hadn't cracked the blinds yet. My phone buzzed once on the coffee table. Inbox, Harborstone compliance, auto response subject received, after hours visit and potential conflict of interest. Status, received no greeting, no reply, just the receipt. That was enough. I stood up, rolled my shoulders out, and looked at the front door like it was a checkpoint. No knocks, no sirens, no one at the gate. My job was done for now. Their job was just beginning. The coffee hadn't even finished brewing when her text hit. "We need to talk." Timestamp, 8:22 a.m. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. She was already unlocking the front door. She came in dressed for work but looked like someone headed into court. Blazer too stiff. Hair scraped back tight. No makeup, or maybe just the kind that's waterproof. Her tote was slung over one shoulder like it weighed 50 pounds. She didn't sit. "On the turnstile this morning," she said, "my badge lit red." The words came flat, like she was reading off a script someone else wrote. They pulled me into compliance. First thing, no warning. I thought it was about payroll errors or a form I missed. She reached into her tote and pulled out a trifold printout. She laid it on the kitchen counter without looking at me. Paper touched the wood with that slow, final slide that says, "This is it." I looked down. The first page was an email, her name at the top. Subject line, vendor review, Dalton Restoration. The body of it wasn't long. It read, "Given recent performance questions, I recommend removing Dalton Restoration from the panel before the second quarter." Below that was an image, a screenshot of a chat window. Travis Holt. "Let Hayes feel what it's like without contracts." Megan S. Hayes. LOL. Let's see if he keeps his composure. The timestamp on the message was 2 weeks before the mixer. She didn't say a word as I read it. She just stood there, eyes on the refrigerator, like she couldn't bring herself to look at what she already knew was coming. "They're terminating me for cause," she said finally. "Undisclosed relationship with a reviewing underwriter. Undeclared interest in a vendor panel decision. They're labeling it conflict and interference." Her voice didn't shake. It didn't crack. It was worse than that. It was practiced. I didn't gloat. I didn't even lift my head right away. Just placed both hands on the counter and stared at my shoes, like I was standing at a cleanup site again, looking for blood spatter, looking for truth in something left behind. She finally broke the silence. "Did you send something?" I met her eyes. No edge in my voice, no emotion, just facts. "I sent a compliance package at 12:07 a.m. 1 week ago. It had logs, smart plug toggles, visitor gate entry, iPad ping from the Latigo property. I attached no conclusions, no threats. I asked for a review. What they did after that is based on choices you and Travis already made." She let out this sharp, bitter breath like she'd been hit in the gut and didn't want to show it. "You think Travis cares?" she said. "You think he's losing sleep? He'll still be led. He'll still have the company badge. You just tanked my whole career over a few text messages." "Maybe," I said. "Maybe not." She looked away, jaw clenching like she wanted to argue but couldn't find ground to stand on. Then she pulled off her ring. It didn't come with a speech. She didn't toss it or cry. She just set it down on a folded paper towel beside the sink. "I can't believe you did this," she said. I kept my eyes on her. "You were supposed to be neutral," I said. "You weren't. You used your position to punish my company, to steer business to someone you were seeing outside of work, and to act like none of it would come back on you." She didn't answer. She knew I was right. But that didn't mean she had to admit it. She went to the bedroom without another word. When she came back, she had 3 bags: her overnight case, the black roller she used for off-sites, and a laptop sleeve with Harborstone's logo on the side. I held the front door open. She stopped in the doorway, turned like she was about to say something else. Maybe defend herself, maybe beg, maybe spit something that would leave a mark. But when she opened her mouth, nothing came out. Just a long, quiet exhale. The sound someone makes when they realize their script's been deleted mid-scene. She stepped outside without looking back. I closed the door behind her and stood still for a full minute. The air in the house didn't shift. It stayed heavy, bleach and dust and something sour underneath, like a hotel room that had been cleaned too fast after a mess. I sat at the kitchen table, stared at the ring on the towel, small, clean, ordinary. The kind of ring bought on a mid-level salary with a mid-level hope. That look she gave me before she left. I've seen it before. On people standing in the middle of fire-damaged living rooms, clutching photos, wondering what to save. It's not rage. It's not grief. It's just that blank space where a plan used to be. She had a plan. So did I. Hers ended at the badge reader. Mine just moved to the next step. 2 weeks after Megan's badge went red, the rumor mill kicked in like clockwork. Insurance offices run on compliance and whispers. A friend in claims called Corey direct, one of his regulars from a Glendale smoke loss, and said the words slow like he was afraid they might echo. "Your boy Holt's on ice." We were at a coffee shop in North Hollywood when Corey passed that line to me. Third booth from the back, middle of the morning, both of us sipping burnt diner brew and pretending the week had been normal. He slid his phone across the table so I could read the text. It was short and clean. Travis Holt, admin leave underwriting access revoked pending internal review. Flagged for potential COI violations tied to after-hours activity. I handed the phone back without a word. Didn't smile, didn't raise my eyebrows, just nodded once. "They matched his on-call window to the HOA logs," Corey said. "Timestamp from the Latigo gate lines up with his expense report. Motel on PCH, corporate card." "Quick and surgical," I said. "Like cutting off a dead toe," he replied. "No drama, just chop." By that afternoon, word had leaked beyond the glass offices and into the garage, where the actual work happened. A junior adjuster I knew from a mold job last fall saw me by the loading bay and gave a shrug with too much knowing behind it. "You hear what went down in the west stairwell?" he asked, like we were talking about a car wreck and not two careers going over the rail. I didn't ask. Didn't need to. He told me anyway. "Saw her pin him by the vending machine. Looked like a full-blown HR crime scene. She was whisper hissing. Full body tension." I stayed silent. Let him talk. She said, "You promised the gate cameras don't tie to badges." He says, "It pulled the logs, Megan. HOA time matches device activity. Your phone and his iPad hit the same Wi-Fi." That part made me smile. Quietly. Internally. Because that was the play. That was the piece most people missed. Metadata. You don't need a name if you've got proximity. She asked if he ratted her out. He goes, "You expense the hotel on a corporate card. We're even." Then it got real quiet. Then he said, "We're done." "And they haven't been seen together since," I said. "Not in the elevators, not in the patio, not even at the mixer recap. Total vanish." "Perfect," I muttered. Back at the Dalton shop, Corey took a call he didn't expect. Direct line from legal. No small talk. Just one sentence. "Dalton Restoration reinstated to vendor panel pending relations review." That was the one we needed. A week after that, a tidy envelope showed up addressed to me. Real mail. Corporate letterhead. Cream-colored paper with a watermark that cost more than most lunches. The letter itself, cold, formal, and exactly what I wanted. "We regret any disruption to vendor status or communications caused by the actions of an individual employee. Dalton Restoration has been restored to full standing as of the 15th of this month. No names, no reference to emails, just passive voice and clean legal distance." I forwarded it to Corey with one line. "All yours. I'm going day shift, smoke and water only." He responded 20 minutes later with a thumbs up and one sentence I didn't know I needed until I saw it. "Proud of you." That one hit different. Not because I needed validation, but because it came from someone who'd seen the same messes I had and knew the difference between cleanup and cover-up. I kept working the rest of the week like nothing had happened. Gloves on, mask sealed, just another guy showing up for pipe bursts and ceiling collapses, but inside, something clicked. Not victory, not revenge, just clarity. The thing they built, Megan and Holt, it collapsed the same way weak subflooring gives under pressure. All I did was mark the rot. I didn't fire the shot. I just handed someone the blueprint and let gravity do the rest. That week, nobody from Harborstone mentioned Megan. Nobody from the panel asked why we got bumped. No long apology, no half-hearted explanation. Just process, just paperwork. That's exactly how I wanted it. No spotlight, no noise. Just the quiet return of our name to the preferred list and a reminder to everyone else that we don't bluff, we log. That's the kind of message that doesn't get posted. It gets remembered. We sat across from each other at a folding table in a strip mall mediation office off Ventura Boulevard. No windows, no music, just stale water bottles, 2 pens, and a neutral third party in a bad blazer who introduced herself as Rachel from Mediation Services, like it was a job she hadn't quite forgiven herself for taking. No lawyers? Not yet. First round was voluntary. Mutual consent. Clean break. Megan wore a blazer she didn't need and shoes that hadn't touched grass in weeks. I came in with work boots, jeans, and a Dalton Restoration pullover. We didn't match. We hadn't in a long time. She opened with something about fairness and being civil. Said it like she was reading from a manual. "I just want what's equitable," she told Rachel. "I'm not trying to punish anyone." I didn't say a word. I slid my list across the table. 1 column for hers, 1 for mine. No alimony. Split the deposit from the Nordhoff rental. Each keeps our own retirements. We sell the couch or flip a coin for it. I didn't care either way. She stared at the list like she was waiting for a trick, then nodded. The realization settled over her. This wasn't a war. It was a transaction. I watched it hit her. She didn't get the fight. No righteous explosion. No scandal. Just logistics. We initialed next to the bullets one at a time. The mediator confirmed each agreement like a referee announcing goals at a soccer game no one was watching. Then Megan leaned back, crossed her arms, and finally asked what had been sitting on her tongue the whole hour. "Do you have proof?" she said. I looked at the table, not at her. "Enough for me," I said. "It stays offline." She didn't thank me, but she didn't press. She just gave this small, clipped nod. I knew that look. Half relief, half resentment. Like I'd just handed her a glass of water and told her it came from the same sink she clogged. She wasn't built for scandal. HR never is. They live in compliance policies and camera blind spots. They believe in plausible deniability the way some people believe in sunscreen and karma. We walked out the same door but in different directions. She headed toward her car. I headed toward mine. I didn't watch her go. 3 days later, I moved out. Found a rental just off Soledad Canyon Road in Santa Clarita. 1 bedroom, 2nd floor, carpeted living room that smelled like Lysol and rental furniture even though it came empty. Cheaper rent, no shared walls, trailheads instead of sirens. I unpacked fast. Tools in the hall closet, running shoes by the door, lockbox under the bed. Not much else. The SD card went into the same metal cash box with the torque set and the old fire gloves. Labeled, dated, untouched. That was the price of leaving clean, keeping the evidence offline, not using it to win, just storing it like a burned uniform you don't wear anymore but can't quite throw out. I told Corey I was done with night runs. No more blood jobs. No more standing over the echo of somebody else's worst hour while the fluorescents flicker and the smell of ammonia sits in your throat. "Smoke and water only," I said. "Day shifts. I'm not chasing drama anymore." He nodded like he'd already expected it. "You want to cut back?" he asked. "No," I said. "I just want to sleep again." My first week in Santa Clarita, I caught myself counting cameras at a strip mall. 1 over the ATM, 1 by the dry cleaner, 1 fake dome above the pharmacy door. I laughed out loud. People looked. I didn't care. Hard habits don't change just because the zip code does. I started running again. Sunrise just before 6, along the outer trail loop at Central Park. Clean gravel. Coyotes in the distance. No dogs. No joggers. Just me and the cold breath in my chest. The air felt different up there. Less dense. Like it hadn't passed through too many mouths before it got to me. I still wore gloves on job sites, still kept my mask sealed right, still backed into parking spots, sat with my back to the wall, tracked exits. But the urgency was gone. The alarms in my head weren't screaming anymore. They were humming. The smell of bleach faded out after the first few loads of laundry. My new place smelled like nothing. Just sun on drywall and the faint trace of cedar from the old dresser I dragged up the stairs by myself. I didn't check Megan's socials, didn't search Harborstone headlines. I didn't need to. That chapter was done. The only thing I kept was the checklist. We got into a rhythm. Corey and I mapped out 2-day crews, one north, one central, rotating weekly. I took the early van every Monday, keyed the gate, did the supply check. No more midnight calls unless someone we owed asked for a favor. And even then, it had to be bad. We leaned into the slow jobs, pipe bursts, smoke damage, crawl space mildew. No more violent sights, no more detectives pacing the driveway while we logged photos between vomit breaks. Just water meters, dehues, and air scrubbers. The boring stuff. The kind that doesn't follow you home in your clothes. We framed that same letter in the shop bathroom, gold spray-painted plastic, hung right above the toilet like a diploma in a garage law office. I stopped checking Megan's socials completely. Not out of discipline, just because I didn't care. If my name came up at Harborstone, it was attached to words like policy alignment or vendor continuity. Exactly the kind of corporate wallpaper I wanted to blend into. One night, Gabe, the night guard at the Latigo gate, texted me a photo. New HOA sign posted just inside the booth window. All visitors must pre-register with owner and security. In bold. All caps. Printed with care and just enough anger. I sent him a coffee gift card. He replied 5 minutes later. Thumbs up. Stay out of trouble, Hayes. In Santa Clarita, I started seeing flyers taped to library doors and church boards. One caught my eye outside the laundromat. Saturday school cleanup. Volunteers needed. District-approved hours. I don't volunteer to feel better about myself. I do it because my hands get loud when I sit still too long. If they're not in gloves or wrapped around a wrench, they start to twitch. I signed up without thinking. That first Saturday I showed up early, wore work boots, brought contractor bags, masks, nitrile gloves, and a backpack of basic tools. No fanfare, no speech. Just grabbed a window scraper and got moving. We scrubbed old gum off stair rails, pulled chewing tobacco tins out of planters, bleached a teacher break room microwave that looked like it hadn't seen daylight since the Bush administration. At work, I kept wearing gloves and sealing my masks tight. It wasn't fear. I just didn't like the taste of risk. You never know where someone's walls have been. And I still picked the corner seat at any client meeting. Habit. Corey started adding smaller carriers to the job book. 2 mid-level insurers, one slow to pay but consistent. They gave us leak detection runs in La Crescenta and some mold inspection work out in Oxnard. The kind of work where no one cries, no one lies, and nobody's hiding bullet holes under a futon. One Thursday morning, I was sitting on the bumper of the van, checking inventory while the team loaded out. A light breeze came up from behind the shop. Not strong, just enough to shift the air. I didn't smell blood. I didn't smell bleach. I didn't smell anything but sun on asphalt and the last of someone's takeout from a trash bin 2 spots over. And that's when it hit me. I hadn't carried death home in weeks. Not in my hair, not in my boots, not in my skin. I checked my watch, stood up, and tightened the straps on the loadout bag. There was a busted toilet flange waiting in Thousand Oaks. Gray water in a subfloor. Easy job. Might even finish early. That's when I noticed something I hadn't felt in a long time. Space. Room for something new. Something that didn't sting. Saturday hit bright and dry. Sun already bouncing off the concrete when I pulled into the lot at Santa Clarita Elementary. No sirens, no call-outs. Just a regular morning with dust in the air and a school that needed hands. I parked the van by the back gate, popped it open, and grabbed a box of contractor bags. Gloves, scrub pads, the usual. The reading room was marked on the flyer, so I headed there first. It smelled like thyme, dust, Elmer's glue, maybe a little old gum melted into carpet. The books had that dry paper scent that hits right behind the eyes. I cracked a window for airflow, rolled up my sleeves, and wrote a checklist on the whiteboard in fat black marker. Glass, baseboards, vents, then coffee. I was halfway through wiping a corner window frame when the nitrile glove on my right hand tore at the thumb. It wasn't even a sharp edge, just wear. I stood there for a second, looking at my hand like it belonged to someone I used to know. "Need a spare?" a voice asked from behind me. I turned. She was holding out a Ziploc bag with a clean glove already halfway pulled out. Name badge clipped to her shirt. Lauren P., Santa Clarita Public Library. Ponytail, gray hoodie, dried paint on her left sneaker. Eyes steady. "Always," I said, and took the glove. She gave me this half smile like she wasn't in a rush to go anywhere. "Is chlorine your cologne, or are you just very into pool maintenance?" "Kinda stuck to me," I said. "I do restoration work, smoke and water mostly, not the crime scene stuff anymore." "That sounds useful. I run the teen volunteer crew on Saturdays. We threaten them with fines and chores if they return books late. Doesn't work." We both laughed, the real kind. No edge. An hour later, we ended up by the multi-purpose room near the coffee urn. The hum from the soda machine buzzed in the background, louder than either of us needed to speak. We talked about nothing serious. Burrito joints off Bouquet Canyon, running routes in Central Park, the exact moment you realize your shoes are killing your knees. "I've started going out at 6, she said. "Too many strollers and golden retrievers after 7. "6 works," I said, before I even thought about it. "I'm at the condo right by the trailhead." She smiled again, slower this time. "We should coordinate, for volunteer projects." We swapped numbers. Nothing flirty, no tension. Just a clean exchange like two people who know how to not make things complicated. When I put my phone back in my pocket, it didn't light up with anything I didn't want to see. Walking back to the reading room, she looked over her shoulder and said, "Some folks wear masks all the time and still breathe just fine." "I've been trying to take mine off," I said. The words came out before I could check them. But once they were out, I realized I meant more than dust masks and bleach fumes. I meant all of it. I stepped back inside and looked around. The light through the windows hit the floor in soft squares. Nothing urgent, just sun and books and the faint sound of someone vacuuming down the hall. I slid on the new glove and got back to work. When we finished, I took a photo of the room. Fresh carpet lines, clean baseboards, windows clear enough to see straight through to the hills. I texted the photo to Corey with one line. "Tell Harborstone I'm staying day shift." He replied 30 seconds later. "Copy. Solid call." And that was that. For the first time in a long time, the alarms in my head didn't mean danger. They just meant it was time to go home. What would you have done in Brandon's place? Set the trap or just walked away? Be honest and tell me in the comments. If you enjoyed this story, hit like and subscribe. It means a lot to us and only takes one click. And if you think this story was good, drop a comment or share your thoughts. Your support really keeps this channel going.
YouTube picked this for you. Tap it. Let's see if they guessed right.